Hello there. Welcome to the Harley Carnes podcast. Harley on the headlines. We're going to take a look at some of the stories today, and we do have quite a little collection here, I got to tell you. I hope you'll stick with us, hope you enjoy it, and I hope you'll invite others to join us. That's what like, follow, and subscribe are all about, as you already know, probably better than I do. So I'd appreciate it. Little word of mouth goes a long, long way. President Trump has signed an executive order directing the Treasury Department to shut down the bank accounts used for criminal illegal enterprises. He said the order, this particular one, targets the banks, credit card companies, and other financial institutions that criminals use to move money tied to human smuggling, drug trafficking, illegal immigration, and cartels. This is not a new tactic. The government has been doing this for many, many years. Just ask the mafia. What's different is the president directed it to happen. And what's different is it includes accounts linked to groups that aid illegal immigration. Accent on illegal, which means what it means. The illegal immigration flood was very much tied to the criminal drug cartels for years. Cartels have gotten more and more wealthy on the backs of the desperate, the hopeful, and the opportunistic. In yesterday's primaries, and so far in the primary season, in races for governor, all but one of the candidates endorsed by President Trump have won. In Iowa, where Randy Feenstra fell short, analysts say it's mostly because the president's support came so late in the game, too late for Feenstra to get any political ads made that included the endorsement, so many voters didn't know about it. The California governor's race, the numbers are still being sorted. Republicans Steve Hilton and two Democrats, Xavier Becerra and Tom Steyer, are still in front as votes are still being sorted. Steyer spent $200 million of his own billions in his race. It may have been wasted money. The top two will stand for election no matter which party they are from. California has a voting system that is wildly skewed in favor of keeping Democrats in power, but at the moment it looks like a November race between Steve Hilton and Xavier Becerra. In the L.A. mayor's race, incumbent Democrat Karen Bass faces a runoff election with Republican Spencer Pratt. There has been growing talk among Democrats that President Trump's health is a growing question mark as he hits 80 years of age. Okay? Time will tell on that. But this is his schedule today. All right? He starts the day in executive time, followed by a series of telephone call meetings, and then has his near daily briefing time with the journalist pool that rotates for morning Q&A with the president. He typically and famously leaves no question unanswered. He has a policy meeting from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., at which typically a range of political and policy issues are discussed among him and his staff and some cabinet members. Think of it as a heavyweight board meeting. Then he has a bite of lunch. And at 3, it's time to sign whatever executive orders are scheduled for the day, which means groups of people who are positively affected by the orders gather around him. He hands out the pens and all that, right? And it's a series of little events until 4:30, when he goes into another policy meeting with more of his staff and other officials. When that meeting is done, he has a few minutes to get dressed for a dinner with dignitaries of some sort at 7 p.m. at the Rose Garden Club. And after dinner, he can think about resting and getting some sleep before jumping back on that non-stop scheduled treadmill the next morning. So, yeah, it sounds like his health is failing, and he's slowing down. And Democrats who make that shit up ought to just try 1 week of a work schedule like that and see how they feel. So silly. Doesn't matter much what the two sides are saying about the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran. They are firing again. Call that whatever you want. Iran attacked Kuwait's airport and forced it to shut down temporarily. Several people were injured by Iranian missiles and drones, which caused significant damage to the main terminal building. Kuwait says 63 people were hurt by those attacks. That's a pretty big several, isn't it? The U.S. stopped a ship trying to run the blockade, which is to say they shot a hole in the engine room and stopped the ship. Iran also fired a wave of drones at U.S. forces, but they were all taken down by air defenses. So it's a ceasefire in name only. If it is officially discarded, that's when the war will resume. Meanwhile, as most of the world's attention is on the Middle East and the price of oil and gasoline at the pump, there is this to think about from Reuters.
China is building launch pads near its nuclear missile silos. Our story shows new buildings and military installations being spread across China's deserts surrounding its very sensitive nuclear silos. In a Taiwan invasion scenario, China would be determined to win and would be determined to make sure that the US, its partners and allies in the region, do not get involved in what they say is China's internal affair. Recent satellite imagery shows increasing activity and a sprawling web of launch pads, bunkers and communication nodes near the silos that house China's longest-range nuclear weapons. Military analysts are observing and trying to figure out precisely what China is doing in one of its most sensitive military areas. It comes down to China trying to build a credible nuclear deterrent, which means it needs the ability to have a second strike capability. And they are moving very swiftly to build hardened silo fields in the northwestern deserts, and according to this satellite imagery, perhaps taking extra steps to secure them through a series of remote launch pads, through hardened ammunition stores, railway lines, and most importantly of all, perhaps expanded command and communications facilities. It feeds into the wider Taiwan question because ultimately there are fears in the West and elsewhere that if there was a build-up, a rising chance of conflict in Taiwan, that China would perhaps threaten to use nuclear weapons in that conflict.
So, are we scared yet? Are we ready to write off Taiwan yet? A major gut check is coming, and coming soon. Death row execution in Florida. Andrew Richard Lukehart was killed by lethal injection at Rayford Prison because he murdered his girlfriend's 5-month-old daughter in 1996. He smashed her in the head at least 5 times, then dumped her body in a nearby pond. He was on probation at the time for fracturing the skull of a different little girl, daughter of a different girlfriend, and breaking her ribs, leg, and arm. She was 8 months old, but she didn't die, so he served just 10 months in prison for that before getting out and murdering little Gabrielle Hanshaw. He tried to fight lethal injection as a method of execution by claiming, even though it was essentially painless, that it would be cruel and unusual punishment to put him through it. Happy birthday, Rafa. Rafael Nadal turns 40 today, and there are a great many tennis experts who say he was the best ever. Did he win the most major tournaments? No, he won 22 of them. Novak Djokovic won 2 more than he did. But Rafa, even though he played with a lot of pain and an assortment of injuries, is the only player in history to be world tennis champ in each of 3 decades. Their rivalry, which ended 31-29 in Joker's favor, is considered one of the greatest in the sport's history, and Rafa is considered the best ever on clay. He won that tabulation between the two of them 20-9. So who's the greatest tennis player overall? Probably Novak Djokovic, but only by about this much. Really. Happy birthday, Rafa. And lastly, who keeps a porcupine as a pet? Well, I guess it's an exotic animal expert in Poland who was called to help capture a porcupine that was spotted wandering around a neighborhood. The man arrived to help the police nab the sticky critter and said, "Hey, that's my porcupine." It apparently chewed through a fence post and escaped. Once man and porcupine saw each other, recapture was, of course, pretty easy. Here's what I want to know. How do you hug a porcupine? Just to show it how much you really, really care. That'll do it, I guess. Thanks for dropping by. Thanks for tuning in today. Hope you'll come back. Bring some folks with you. You've given me a bit of your time. Time is precious, and I sure do appreciate it. Also worth mentioning, we're found on Spotify, video, audio, X, Facebook, and on it goes, right? I'm Harley Carnes. Until next time, do yourself a favor. Make some good, conscious choices in your life today. Make a decision to be happy. And fly safe. It's the only way to get there.